Hello and welcome to episode 9 of Keeping Up with the Kerslake. It's me again, Steve Kerslake, and today I'm joined by the people behind the training of construction sports, Ami and Harold of Elite Force Safety. How are we? All good?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, the weather's quite warm, isn't it?
It's down here. We don't have much rain.
Yeah.
Where have you come from today? You obviously come from back home. What is?
Oxford. Well, Didcot, but no one knows what Didcot is, so we'll say Oxford.
So come down.
Yeah.
So what is Elite Force Safety, Aim? What are you guys all about?
Come to me first.
Yes,
just to disclaimer, I wasn't expecting to be involved in this at all. I was coming for a day out and I've been dragged in.
And now you're amongst it.
I'm just winging it completely.
Yeah. That's my career.
So I'm quite used to it. It's not unusual. So at Lead Force Safety, we do basically health and safety training for companies, and one of the topics that we focus quite heavily on is mental health, as you know.
Yep, perfect. And then you have a manual handed inside, what's quite heavy, isn't it? And the man next to him, Harold, you've kind of over the years pushed the manual handed in aspect.
Yeah, one of the big fall downs, I think, with health and safety is very much tick box or training that's not realistic. So for my background and my part with Elite Force Safety, I like two things. One, I like to look after people's bodies so they don't injure themselves. And in construction, so many people injure themselves and it's a life-changing injury just from handling or doing repetitive jobs, think bricklayers. And then I also think from my background with the military is the mind. And for me, the mind and the body are linked. So I can cross over them two subjects, and they're my two big things from Elite Force Safety. I enjoy a lot.
So you first got in touch with me off the back of Callum, wasn't it? Kennedy. So another name in my head, and I kept getting mixed up. So I emailed someone before, and it wasn't him. And I thought, another guy. I won't drop his name in. I don't want to give someone too much press. So Callum got in touch, didn't he? Well, you got in touch with Callum, didn't you? And said obviously what he's doing. I think he
contacted me and said, "Oh, I think it'd be worth you getting in touch with Steve." And then we came on to one of the goals. Yeah,
you come away straight away, didn't you? I think the following week. Fair play to you. I always say that to people. It's a tester of like if people are actually committed or interested. You know what I mean? So we'll come have a chat then, and fair play to you as you drive from Oxford down to sunny Essex.
A few times, didn't we?
We've done now, yeah.
We've been Birmingham as well, and we've 3 or 4 events.
Birmingham, Forest of Arden, the NEC. There's a few, wasn't it? No, it's a testament to you guys. Thank you. But it always rung true to me because my background with construction sport to come forward was the military are doing it right. And they've proven that, or they're going in the right direction, should we say? So until it's zero, I don't know what is right. But how many years of education of the military have been putting into mental health now?
Wow. So they started to look into it after World War One. Yeah. And all the way up to now. So we're looking at over 100 years worth of trial and errors with the military. Because actually, before World War One, it was not recognised with men. It was only recognised in women because women were seen to be the weaker sex. And that's what happened. And after the war in World War One, lots of guys were killing themselves. And they went, there must be something in this. What went on? And that's where it started the development all the way up through Afghanistan. And now virtually everybody who's in the military has annual training. All at a basic level, but you then have your trim train, you have your doctors and you have your medics and you have your specialists now and people who are working with Help for Heroes. Yep. So it's grown arms and legs, but the numbers don't lie. So as a model, why would you not choose to use the military model? It takes time and it has taken time. And unfortunately, it took Afghanistan to accelerate the process of that and the progress. So we don't want that in construction sport. We don't want lots and lots of deaths, do we, in construction? No. So let's use that model now. Let's integrate that. And let's work with them.
So you see it so much of companies. We're all running different races. And in construction sport, I know that. And I was like, it's all come together because it's ultimately, I believe, got to come from the very top for someone to say we need to set legislation as this and give people guidance, isn't it, to follow, and that's where they can adopt that from the military. But I think I spoke to you the other day actually about the trim because I've just found out speaking to the fire brigade last week that they use that as well. So they've obviously adopted it with what you guys are pushing, and then construction just sitting there watching the numbers grow, and we're hearing now through the people we're speaking to closely, it's not officially on paper yet, as we know, it's not been pushed out, but the statistics are getting worse, and I think it's just the environment and world we live in, isn't it? But so when you come out of, what was your background, actually military, so who did you serve with, Harold?
I was with the Royal Artillery for 26 years.
Was it? Yeah. And that was your first job as well? You go straight into
I went in as what's called a boy soldier. I joined when I was 16. So my basic training was a year long, and then And then I did the gymnastic display team for 4 months.
Yeah.
You tour around the UK, you know, have all the feints and everything.
Yeah.
And they have a gymnastic display. So we were bouncing off trampolines and trampettes and things like that. Just we called it CAPE, keeping the army in the public eye. They go, oh, look, you can do gymnastics if you join the army. Oh, you should join.
Is there a link between that and you actually wanting to keep people's bodies healthy then? There must be, right? Seeing what those guys...
I think you have to remain physically fit within the army anyway. Because if you're not, you'll start getting left behind in your promotion, in your careers, and nobody wants to be known as that person that's holding other people back in a group or in a team. So no, I've just always been physically active, and that's why I did have an injury, and it's part of actually how we first met.
Was it? Yeah.
I had an injury, and that sort of knocked me a little bit sideways when I'm not as strong as I used to be. And as you get older and you get into your 40s, you're only halfway through your working life.
Yeah.
And if you look at the guys who have these physical injuries, most of them have these life-changing injuries between 40 and 50. But you've learned bad habits and been doing bad habits for 20 years. And then all of a sudden, bang, one movement and you're done.
Yeah.
You know, and you have to cope with it for the rest of your life then.
Yeah. So where was you in this path then, Aim? What was your kind of...
Oh, so mine's completely different. I was just going to jump in and just guide you a little bit with your answer with the mental health part of it, because you've learnt more since... Well, to say learnt more, you've learnt different things since you've been out, and that's allowed you to look backwards and see things that you missed at the time because you weren't open to it. So with like friends and things, so you've had that experience of hindsight with mental health, which I think has made this one of the reasons you're passionate about bringing it to industry, is because...
Yeah, well, what she's trying to say there is, I was that macho man in that macho job.
I was trying to say it nicely.
Yeah. And you don't want to let people down, so you don't want to show a weakness.
Yep.
And as I grew through the ranks and became in charge of people, you have to, as a manager, appear to be even stronger. And people, if you're a strong manager, people don't want to come to you because you go, I don't want to show weakness to him. And you're pushing your guys. And I was that idiot who went, what's wrong with you? Why can't you get yourself together? Why are you late? Why are you scruffy? Why have you not turned up on time? And I gave people a hard time for things that possibly there were things in the background. So these guys have all served, been away, been in hostile environments, come back. We have different resiliencies as adults. And some of the people I now served with, are no longer here. The signs and the symptoms of what they were giving off were classic. There's something not right with them. But we just went, oh, it's Steve. That's what Steve's like. Yeah. Steve started drinking more. Steve just got done for drink driving. Steve's been fighting more.
He's a liability.
Steve's doing these things. Oh, what's Steve done now? Well, actually, the signs and symptoms were there. Nobody did anything. And now they're no longer here. So I had a 360 and went, I could have done something. I should have done something. Do I feel guilty? I do a bit, but then I didn't know any better. No, and now I've gone, why don't I now, and I have a perfect opportunity to do this in a construction environment, which I think is very similar to the military, to correct what I didn't correct when I had the chance, and educate people to not be that idiot that I was, and to do that. That's why I think the military and the construction thing links together. I think it works really well.
Yeah, it's got to be, because it's like I say, all that, it's almost like the broken. If it's not broken, what the military are doing, it's like reinventing the wheel is the word I'm looking for. Why reinvent the wheel when you've done all that 100 years of education? And we are the same people. The one I get with the construction side is, I've worked with machine drivers, a dumper driver. I worked with literally during COVID, I know, and he'd served 3 tours. And I wasn't even talking about the construction sports stuff then. I was more of a case of, we're in the middle of COVID, I just need a day job, I'll keep my head down and just crack on. And I just got talking to him, and he said he was in a book, and a book got written about, and a story, and I actually read a little read of it, and I went back to it and realised it was quite some bad signs that happened. And he said, and then he just went, and then he just said about how much he struggles, and he opened up a little bit because I showed a bit of interest in his military background. And then always from then I was like, you've gone through that, and we've allowed you on this site driving that machinery, and we've not once said to you, should we maybe just try and help you and put you through a system that just checks that you're mentally stable to help yourself? Because he obviously wasn't. And I see it every day now, the prisoners that come out of the prison service and they just fall into construction, and we just give these people jobs and we never actually question where they've come from. We adopt all this trauma and then the person in the industry then does what they do, and then we get slagged off as the worst industry in the world for it. I'm like, we're not actually causing it. We're giving these people a lot of hope and actually showing we can give them a job, but we're just not taking accountability that they've been in troubled backgrounds. But hopefully with what we want to do, and obviously we're seeing now firsthand with the stuff we see on site. I think a few weeks ago, wasn't it, was the big one for me, and I think that is a big turning point in the way I want to go construction sport with the awareness training, isn't it? A weekend was speaking about, but what we saw was a few thousand people, and not one person educated in mental health awareness on the ground, was it?
Yeah, they were all supervisors and managers, and we were like, yes, it's nice for you to be able to spot that, but actually who's the person that, if me and you are working together day in, day out, who am I likely to speak to would be you. When we have conversations all the time, you're an empath, and she even knows when I'm not right before I know, which I find really scary.
My wife says, "Go for a run." I'll go for a run, will you? Yeah, take the dog out.
And that's the physical again. That's the physical and mental stuff linking together. No, and I think one of the things that worked really well when we did the HS2 thing not long ago, I did that little speech that I did, and there was 2 guys came up afterwards. And one of the things with awareness is we're wanting to get it at the lowest level, so nip it in the bud early. The longer a mental health condition is left, the worse it gets and the longer the recovery is. But if you can nip it early, and just on that one event there, 2 guys came up, one was older, one was younger, they're on HS2, they're living away from home, they've not started the project, they just sat around bored, and the young lad just wasn't himself, and the older fella went over to him and said, "Here mate, let's go and have a game of pool." And he went out a game of pool, and he said, "What's up?" He says, "Oh, I'm missing my girlfriend," and he said, "He did that to me and he saved my night." He said, "And now we're talking, we're playing pool all the time, and he's my go-to." And how easy was that? How quickly could that have gone downhill? Or he would have sacked the job and gone home, and now he's sat at home without a job. So these things have a ripple effect. And I thought that them 2 coming up afterwards and saying that exactly what we're wanting to do was proof in the pudding.
Simple, just go play snooker.
A big part of it as well is it's really basic. So it's having a conversation. People don't like having difficult conversations. What they'll do is they'll avoid it or dismiss it. So it's easy to say, "Oh, you'll be all right, mate. You know, whatever, it's fine." And that's such a common response because people don't actually know how to open up a conversation, how to listen.
And we're getting that now, as we said, with the middle management side of it. But then, not reflecting too much on your past or whatever, but that middle management people are those people who don't understand it to a certain degree, and they're the ones who are going, "Nah, you'll be all right. That's just him, isn't it?" And we see it then that the middle management is not enough. Getting them trained is not enough to save this industry from the problem we're in, is it? And it's work. And until we realise this, I think there was a survey come out, and I definitely see it. It come out somewhere online, and I cannot find it to this day. I was looking yesterday, so I reckon it's been pulled. And it was literally going. It was just saying the mental health first aid England's course and what they're doing and just flogging this course out to each and every person out there. It's just a money-making scam, and it's literally people aren't being hit, but it's not helping. Or the way it's been rolled out, I understand it should be part of a process and part of a system, but it's been pushed out like it is the answer. And my fear when you guys come to me, honestly, is that I didn't agree with the way that course was done because I'd done it myself, and then I had a phone call 6 weeks later from someone sitting at home 8 o'clock at night, and someone rang me up and said, "I'm in worst case scenario. What do I do?" I've been told to give you a call, and I said, "Okay, just out of interest, where did you get my number from?" I said, "Oh, a guy I know works on the construction site, and he saw your name and number on a poster that you're the mental health guy. I wanted to speak to you." And I was like, "I don't even know this guy now. I'm literally on the end of a 999 call here." And I was just like, I rung up a charity and I said to them pretty much, "This guy needs help. Can you please help him? I've now got this on my conscience." And they turned around and said to me, "We need him to call us." And I said, "We don't think he's in a position where he wants to call someone like you." And they turned around and said to me, "There's not much we can do then." So I went, "No problem." So I just rung 999. I said, "Here's the guy's number. Can you please do something? Because I'm about to go to bed now and I've got a 1-year-old boy asleep." And they turned around and I dealt with it. And I know now through the guy who I knew, but that he did go through the night. It's fine, but I didn't sleep that night. Yeah. And I was in a position, I'm now this person who's, my family now deal with my son who's 1 year old at the time, and my wife deal with a husband and a dad who's literally not slept all night. What's that doing to me? And then if, thank the Lord, he didn't do worst case scenario, but if he did, I even thought selfishly, I thought they're going to pick him up off wherever he's landed, and his phone's just going to say, "I was the last person he spoke to." And I was like, what are they going to say? What did I say? Yeah, and they can never know what I said. And then that's on me then for life. And then that is when I went back out into the world and it was just like, construction sport needs to do something about this, and we can do. We need to educate people. There's a lot more to this than just a 2-day course. What shouldn't be 2 days, but that's another story. Construction courses are like, they love a drag out course.
Such a disconnect, isn't there? And it shouldn't be getting to that point for anybody where people are getting to crisis point, and it does happen, but it is preventable. Suicide is one of the only
100%, and it's identifying, isn't it, and just figuring out.
I think also what we've come to do is to make the course relevant to the people who are attending. Now, I don't want to come across as sexist or anything, but it's a male-dominated industry.
Yeah, it is.
I don't want to come across as sexist, but I will. It's a male-dominated industry.
Yeah.
So if we're going to be doing I don't know what the numbers are, Steve, you tell me, 85% of the industry.
I think what is there? I think under 2% are actually on the, or is it like 2% or something, or on the tools.
On the tools, yeah, you have a lot
but
of
I think
admin.
it might be between 12 and 15 or something like that, I think, for women in
So
construction.
if we're going to do a course, let's tailor it towards them. I mean, we're happy, and when we do some of the admin stuff, as we have done, we tailor it then towards that direction, so we don't have it as male heavy. But there are some things that men are interested in more that we should be talking about, rather than the little things. Not little things, that's the wrong word. I'm not going to get picked up and say some of the issues that may be not as relevant to men. So I'm going to say anorexia, for example. It's not a massive thing with men. However, alcohol, gambling and drugs are something. Pressure, stress, suicide, or other areas. So why not focus on these things rather than spend an hour talking about anorexia, bulimia, which we can talk about, but we'll just quickly say what they are and not spend an hour and a half discussing these things when we're limited on time. Because actually, it's all about time, isn't it? How much time do I have with these guys? Because time is money.
Yeah, 100%.
That's your enemy.
Yeah. We've literally just had this, each podcast, we're hearing it as well now, we're speaking, and so on, everyone realises that the industry is built on just time. And we can't, and I literally thought it'd be easy to go into companies and just go out there and speak to guys on the ground, let alone bring a camera with me as well. But companies haven't got the time. If you say, I've said to them before, we just have half-hour sessions. We like come in with a half hour to speak to lads, just show them something. It's for their own benefit, and that half hour is their tea break. It's one of their 2 tea breaks sort of thing. There's not enough time for it, and it is. And I've been in that world, and it is that thing. And if a site, again, my background of being groundworks and civil engineering side of it was, we want to pour concrete on Friday. So we're going to pour concrete on Friday. So we're going to literally, all the formwork that goes in before that, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If there's a glimmer of hope Thursday afternoon it's going to be ready, they'll bring the concrete forward to Thursday. Because it'd be like, we won't say well done to the lads, you get a few hours free on a Thursday. It'd be like, no, we'll get it in then. And then they'll cram it. And then that will go through to Thursday night into the late hours. And if there's any glimmer of hope or time, it just gets pushed in with work. And
we did something over in Bury St Edmunds. And what were the stats for the investment? You know the stats for this. The investment of the return.
So for a manager-led program for mental health training, so that's what we're talking about here, having the managers trained and then having everyone else trained, so the awareness as well. For every £1 invested, there's an 800% return investment.
Really, yeah, happy days. That's it. Because one of that, I know, and I think it goes beyond. It goes back to the alcohol abuse, but it's obviously for something. But the Monday Club, I've worked in the industry for many times. The Monday Club is a big club, and I've been in positions where I've actually woke up genuinely ill on a Monday morning in pain. I can't remember what it was. I think a back went or something like that. And I said to her missus at the time, that she said to her, I need to go to work. She went, you can't go to work. I said, I just need to go and show my face. I said, why is that? I went, because they'll think I'm part of the Monday Club. And I drove into East London from where I am for an hour drive. Literally going, I said, I can't be at work today. I just drove home. I was like, just showing, because I was freelance worker as well. I didn't want to tarnish with this, he's on the bin on the beers all weekend. And I hadn't. And I was like, you can breathalyse me, do what you want, but I can't be known. But that is, honestly, and you see it so much in groundworks, was you just expect probably 70 to 80% of your workforce a day. You're never gonna, it's as if you just never get 100%. And there's a few, I worked at one last year in Brent Cross, and that was the same. And there's none of this, when he comes on Tuesday, we're sacking, because there's not enough people. So they just tolerate it for what it is. And there's just no time.
I like the fact that there's a change, and you were privy to that conversation that they had. these companies now are seeing that we've got these workers, and actually they're very, very good. What they do is they take them on for that job, and they go, right, our job's finished. Thanks, guys. See you later.
Yeah.
Guys, move on to another job. They're now recognising, why don't we keep these?
Yeah.
Why don't we take these to that new job? It saves you on recruiting. It saves you on induction training. And actually, you know the good eggs and the good workers.
Yeah.
So let's keep hold of the ones we've got, not finish them at the end of that job.
Yeah.
And that will move on. And that was John F. Hunt that we did that with.
Yeah.
You know, it's the right mindset, I think.
Yeah.
Because then the worker feels cared for.
Yeah.
Not, I'm here, I'm being abused, and then see you later, lads.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to do as little as possible, as quick as possible, and nobody really cares because I'm getting dropped at the end of it anyway.
Yeah, 100%. So that's what we got to a point. It's like, so I even thought of it now. Like I got asked many a times if I want to kind of set up or go in partnership or do a construction company and go that way, and I just realised that it was just full of. It's just people were just being done over for money, basically at that level. There were so many companies at the time, and today it's just literally been sent under, basically, been held payments, what just sends them goodbye. But I had this core team of guys who I know are probably the best, could make the best construction groundworks team in the world. Just from, I've been fortunate enough, been around many jobs that these guys are there. But as a company, I wouldn't be able to afford. Like companies wouldn't come pay us to have that best team in the world. They'd rather go for just some guys who are a lot low cost. But that's again, they just look at the bottom figures instead of looking at a real solid team who are worth their money in gold, sort of thing.
Yeah, and you've got my brother works in construction as well. He's a health and safety advisor, and he goes there. And the amount of times guys are redoing jobs because when they were done in the first place, they were done badly.
Yeah.
Or having something like, let's say they do it badly, they don't cat and Jenny, and what they do is they have a utility strike.
Yeah.
You now have to get somebody up. So paying cheap, sometimes you're paying twice.
Yeah.
He talked the other day about 800 metres worth of curbs that had to be lifted and reinstated.
I worked on a job and we put a roundabout in. I went there not long before this. I didn't put the roundabout in. Hands up, I promise. And the town council come out to inspect it and had a look, and the person behind part of the council team in the office somewhere went, is that not supposed to be lower than this, or something? The height was wrong. It turned out the whole roundabout was literally the wrong height. So the whole roundabout and the junctions coming up to it all had to be pulled up and redone. Yeah, that was literally spotted, and it's crazy. And you just think, and they did. They found a cheap contractor to do it, and they done it, and they paid twice. Yeah, it is crazy. But so we're trying to now work with yourself, obviously, get the military aspect into where we are. Where's the military of it now then? Because they're doing pretty well, aren't they? I think you said before about civilian.
So the stats. If you take the stats of thinking of the environment that they work in, and where they've been with the Afghanistan. So PTSD is one of the main ones, and then depression and suicide and alcohol abuse as well. So it's two different areas, to be honest, Steve, because guys have a lot of support whilst they're in, and they have people to go to, and you also have your support bubble, which is your mates. But once you leave the military, that's where it sort of goes downhill. Nothing against the military, but they go, all right, that's it, fine, off you go. Now, if you were to take 50,000 civilians, cross-section of society of all different jobs, and you have the same in the military, you have the chefs, you have the clerks, you have the storemen, you have your workers, and do that, you would expect the military to have a higher percentage of mental health issues, but they don't. They're on par. I can't say they're below, but they're on par, where you would expect them to be higher. So obviously that does work. And I think there's a big connection there between the military and construction, because working outside, that's what the military do, under a lot of pressure, under time constraints, getting a lot of pressure from the top to make sure you're at the right place at the right time, doing the right job, and it needs to all be to a high standard. And you're away from your family often as well.
And male dominated.
All right, thanks.
It is.
You can't say that.
No, but it is, because it's that mindset and the generational thing of my dad didn't talk about his feelings, so I can't talk about mine, and it gets passed down through generations. And unless it gets broken, then it's just going to keep going and getting worse.
Do you see, because you obviously do training in other industries as well?
Yes.
How do you, in comparison to construction? So I know you do a few bits of the airports and stuff, don't it?
I like for me, the construction works really well, because there's a load of guys there who all think they're all the funniest guy ever. They're all the hardest worker. It's the hardest industry ever. Now, you need someone to stand in front of them who can have that banter with them, but also respect them and say, look, I understand what you're talking about. Now, if I was a 5'2",
a dreamer.
If I was a nurse who'd never been in the military, the guys are going to sit there. They already start this with this sort of position anyway, going, oh, how long's this going to take? But when you start getting in there, we've got a special forces guy we use. He doesn't talk about the special forces. He says, I've done a course that's allowed me to do a few things. And you go, I've instantly got a respect for this guy. He knows what I'm talking about. He understands my issues, so I'm going to listen to him, because you've got to have that respect from the guys.
Yeah, common ground.
And again, nothing against a doctor who spent years and years and got a PhD in mental psychology or whatever, and go, in the hippocampus of the brain, what happens is it produces it, and the guys are just going to go, I ain't interested.
Yeah.
I also think it's a lot around how you communicate. So
yeah.
You've had years, most people who have done it as long as you have had years and years. It's true though, isn't it? Have had years and years of instructor. You were a drill sergeant, not shockingly, because obviously volume, but have had years and years of instructing groups of guys.
Yeah.
So you instantly command attention and respect with just how you speak and your presence. So I think that works, not just you, obviously, but the general.
Yeah,
the instructors that we use
crowd,
all have that, because they're all ex-military.
Yeah.
So it comes across well for construction.
Yeah. For sure. And back injuries, what you've seen, and the way the handling's done of it.
Oh, you don't want to know. Well, the stats come in at about roughly 50% of people will have some form of back injury by the age of 42. That's across all industries. And some people, when they've had them, and they've said this to me themselves, they've had them and they've been really severe, they've been off work for 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
And 3 to 4 months, if it's really severe and you've got a herniated disc, you might not be able to get off the sofa. So you've gone from being, I'm on a building site, lifting, shifting, I'm a big guy, and then you've herniated a disc really badly, you can't get off the sofa. You can't even wipe your own arse. You have to get your missus to come and do that. How degrading's that? But now you're sat here, you're the breadwinner, you're the macho man of the family, and now you're not going out to work. And it may be 2 or 3 more months before you can physically get back to work. Or you'll start to medicate with alcohol to ease the pain, or even painkillers to get yourself back to work sooner. And all you're doing is prolonging that it will come back. This is all having a mental effect on you, because you've gone from this guy who can do it all to somebody who can't do anything. Yeah. So that's why I think the physical links, but we have to rehab the guys correctly, and I think giving them the correct training as well, which is what we do, giving the right training rate. So I've just done one today, a video on LinkedIn about the use of a wheelbarrow. And I said, who's ever been training how to use a wheelbarrow? Yeah. And then one of the health and safety fellas has wrote there, and he's gone, I'll bet you get laughed at and load of expletives. But what an amazing video.
Oh, it's brilliant.
I've learned something today.
Yeah.
And I went, I do that. I said, but I tell them first, what's wrong, don't do this, don't, here's why. Right, who's ever had wheelbarrow training? And they all have a laugh. And I go, show me how you do it. And they show me exactly what I've just said not to do.
Yeah.
And I go, let's do that then. And actually people take it on.
Yeah.
Because they go, where were you 20 years ago, mate?
Yeah, I always remember it, and this is actually, Kev Downton, mentioned him. He said, Harold, he said, loves his top tip times. He loves them. I love them. I said, Kev, but you're watching them, isn't he? He said, yeah. He said, I love them. I said, they're so good. He said, he come across so engaging, and he said, he's put it in a good way, and he loves it. And I've said this before, every time I go to pick something up, in my head, subconsciously, I can hear you going red zone or green zone. And I literally think about it. That's what we need, is that little bit of education, because you say you're one little bit in that red zone, and bang, you're out.
That's it. And it's not the one time, it's the many times. And then bang, or it's even not work. You've got 2 small children, so you're on site all day lifting slabs, doing manual handling, and then you go home and go, oh, come to me, oh, just a minute, and put your back out. You'll blame your little one for the rest of your life. Yeah. But actually, it was probably the slabs that were causing it in the first place.
I went through Gatwick Airport, that's a Stansted Airport on holiday. We had 4 luggage bags checked in, 2 prams and a baby seat. So we had 7 items of luggage. I had it all in one pram. The missus had the babies on her. And I carried it all, and I was absolutely fine. On a trolley, I balanced it all, got on the car, and I was absolutely fine. Went all holiday holding the kids around the swimming pool, all fine. Come back on the Saturday, then was back in home on doors on the Sunday. I thought, my back feels a bit tight. And then the Monday, literally got ready to go back. I was about to come into work, and literally I was like, my back's going to go. I know it. As if like it held out. It knew, don't go yet, but just you're doing something wrong. You're doing too much here, but we'll let you know later for it. And it would have done. I've fortunately recognised it, done some stretching.
And this is the thing, you've got to recognise it, but sometimes you've had it in the past anyway. Through rugby or your sports. But what I don't want people to have to go through an injury first to then start to know, I better be careful now.
Yeah, that's it.
It's on its way again. Because that part there could be from just a day or 2 up to 6 to 8 months.
And that works perfect with mental health, doesn't it? They understand mental health, they understand looking after your back before one of them goes, isn't it?
And they're linked. You know, if you
100%.
physically look after yourself and you go out and you do a little bit of exercise. When I say exercise, I don't mean go to the gym and lift loads of weights.
Yeah.
Just going for a walk, doing something physical. Because sometimes we have quite sedentary lives. And these days, what they're saying is the office is the new smoking.
Yeah.
You get in your car, you drive to work, you get out of your car, you sit at your desk, 8 hours a day there, drive in your car, sit home, and then that's you.
Yeah.
You know, less than 1,000 steps a day, some people.
It links perfect. Tiernan, who was just the previous podcast to this, he literally said that, and how trauma and all that is in the body, mental health is stored in there. And he said you'll see it on the episode before this, that they done a netball team, and with a lot of guys playing, they could see how tight they were. Their bodies were tight, and they done treatment and this, and then they were all loosened up. And but it's through literally mental health training or therapy what loosened these people's core, and it stores it. But no, perfect. Well, that's Elite Force Safety. Thank you for coming down and visiting us. I'm sure again there'll be plenty more episodes of you guys involved. 100%. We've got plenty to talk about, I'm sure, and this is not going to be the end of it. But thank you for coming down. Thank you for your time. Thank you for everything you do for construction sport as well. But that was episode 8. That was episode 9. On to episode 10, flying through them. Thank you very much.